I am Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. So just imagine on a cold winter's night in Italy, when the streets fall silent and the hearth smoke curls into the sky, a shadow passes. Not Santa Claus, not St. Nicholas, but an old woman flying on a broom. Sound familiar? She carries gifts in her sack, soot on her hands, and whispers of the supernatural. She is La Befana, and her story is older, stranger, and darker than most know. So, welcome back. If this is your first time, hello. Thank you for joining me on our strange little journey through folklore, history, and all the shadows that make Halloween live on year-round. We love Halloween in this house, so join us. Today we step into the fog between Christmas and Halloween, exploring La Befana, the Italian witch who bridges midwinter celebration, Christian reinterpretation, and ancient pagan echoes. Her broom, her cauldron, her gifts all feel hauntingly familiar to the iconography we see every Halloween. So, let's start off with some origin stories, things like that. La Befana as a spirit is tied to fertility and the agricultural cycle. She echoes the Roman goddess Strinia, who is the bringer of gifts at the new year. The folk belief in household spirits fits her. She's a crone-like figure sweeping away the old year's dust. And she blurred the line between wise woman, healer, and frightening hag, much like many cultures. There's a strong overlap with Halloween's Celtic roots, harvest spirits, liminal nights. The witch is a symbol of seasonal transition. So, long before she flew across Catholic Italy, La Befana's roots may have reached into Rome itself. Some scholars point to the goddess Strinia, whose festival was celebrated with gifts and greenery in January. Strinia was linked to luck, renewal, and the turning of the year. And like La Befana, she bore both kindness and severity, because typically throughout history, these things have duality. It's the yin and the yang, the good and the bad. It's kind of how it worked. As Christianity spread, Strinia faded, but echoes of her survived in the crooked old woman who walked the January night. By the Middle Ages, this mysterious figure had been folded into the Epiphany story. La Befana, the kindly witch, is said to have been visited by the three wise men as they sought the infant Christ. They invited her along. She said nope. She refused because she needed to clean her house. She had chores to do, son. Only after they left did she realize her mistake. She regretted it, and she began her eternal search for the Christ child, leaving gifts for every child she visited. So that's one interpretation, right? Make no mistake, though, while she gives good sweets to the good, she still punishes the wicked, not with coal, but with ashes, garlic, and sharp sticks. So you get a fun little sharp stick as a present. La Befana is not just a Christmas figure. She's an archetype embodying the dual nature of the witch. She's frightening and maternal. She's harsh and protective. Her broom doesn't just sweep clean. It's a magical tool, linking her to the same traditions that gave us Halloween's classic witch. So all this stuff ties together, right? That's the fun part of learning all these things. There are so many stories that tie together, which, it's great. She visits on January 5th, which is the eve of Epiphany, slipping down chimneys and into homes, just like a fat dude we know that says ho, ho, ho. The hearth, I always say it wrong. The fire and the ashes she leaves all echo ancient beliefs. In fire as being both a purifier and protector, and recall the burning hearth fires of Samhain and Halloween. So there's another tie. Contrast with Santa Claus, but very similar, right? In both ritual and imagery. So, man, these stories all are fun to tie together. La Befana is both a sinner and a saint, yet folklorically is tied to witchcraft. So always that witchcraft tie, right? Why does La Befana feel so familiar to us as lovers of Halloween? That's because she shares the same symbolic DNA. Her broom, her crooked nose, her liminality between the benevolence and malice all mirror the witch we celebrate every October. again, there's that duality. Just think of it this way. Where Halloween begins, the dark season, La Befana will close it. She is the closer. Halloween marks the thinning of the veil in autumn, but Befana arrives in the deep of winter to tidy up those remnants of that darkness before spring returns. It's the cyclical nature of just, life. Just like Halloween's witch, La Befana is feared and beloved all at once. She has that broomstick, classic witch imagery. She has the soot-covered face, which is both association with fire and cauldrons, but also just practicality because she's going down chimneys, right? She's going to get some soot on her face. Her sack is dual imagery of both abundance and haunting. She has candy for good children and coal or other gross things for the bad kids, unlike Krampus, who just stuffs you in a sack, right? Italians depicted her on lots of imagery similar to Halloween postcards of the 1900s, which is cool. Her ties to Halloween is she's a rite of passage for kids. Trick or treating very similarly mirrors Befana's candy exchanges. Today, La Befana is still celebrated throughout Italy, especially in small towns where children hang stockings by the fire, just as American children do at Christmas, hoping that Santa Claus will visit them. In some communities, people even dress as La Befana, parading through the streets, climbing down chimneys in costume. That doesn't sound safe. Italian-American neighborhoods in the U.S. also keep her alive, blending Halloween eeriness into Christmas cheer. So there's that crossover between pagan holidays. In a world where Halloween and Christmas often seem like they're completely opposite, La Befana reminds us they're closer than we think. They are two sides of the same coin. La Befana festivals today include bonfires, effigies, carnivalesque traditions with masks and witches, sounds a lot like Krampusnacht, right? So who else does La Befana tie with? She is only one of Europe's dark winter witches. In some regions, Befana is said to know other witches, her sisters across Europe, who share the broom, the cauldron, and the night. Some speak of a Slavic figure who lives in a hut that walks on chicken legs. We learned about that before, right? That's Baba Yaga. But there's also in Mexican and Latin American culture, there's La Bruja, both feared and respected flying witch, sometimes a bringer of gifts or, a curse. You might get a curse. Holda and Perkta, that's Germanic lore. These are winter women who reward the good and punish the lazy. Spinning and household tasks tie in, so you're going to get some chores from Perkta. Baba Yaga, of course, our Slavic folklore. We love Baba Yaga. That's another winter witch. These are all guardians of thresholds. These are figures who thrive and who suffer as the seasons turn. So it's more of that, cyclical nature of life. So La Befana may arrive on Epiphany Eve, but her imagery is unmistakably Halloween. She is a crone, she is a witch, she's a giver of gifts and warnings. She reminds us that the supernatural does not vanish after October 31st. It lingers in the cold winter air, ready to sweep away the old year and remind us of the strange. Candy companies in Italy sell Befana sweets, echoing Halloween's candy economy. Imagine that. Somebody's trying to make some money off of history. Just like Halloween, she is now a marketing icon while still carrying ancient folkloric weight. So remember this, when you pack away your Halloween decorations, put up your Christmas lights, you can throw a witch in there. Remember that crooked old woman might be sweeping her way through the season too, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get a stop from La Befana. That's a brief history of another witch, crone-like figure in history, La Befana. When I lived overseas, I used to live in Sicily, and I visited Italy a few times. I do vaguely remember La Befana. I'm going to try to look up some old pictures of when I lived there and see if I can see any of the imagery that I'm talking about in this. I'd love to find some photos of any of these things that I'm speaking about, especially since I lived there. I loved Sicily, one of the greatest places I've ever lived. I hope to be able to take my family back there soon, and I would love to go during Christmas time to see if this La Befana tradition is as great as it sounds on paper. So, until next time, stay strange, stay curious, stay spooky, and always preserve Halloween.